Good morning, everybody. I am back from my road trip. We all survived. The car survived. Nobody died. Nobody got any tickets. It is totally possible to go on an epic road trip and not have anything bad happen. But I think the bigger question a lot of people asked is, what did it cost? And it's always more expensive than you think it's going to be. So I diligently went back through all my credit card records and I try to put everything on one card. So that way it's easy to keep track of on these trips. And so I added it all up and it was, even on a budget, it was more than what I expected. So I'm gonna roll through the stats real quick and then I'll post this in the description of the links. So if you wanna subscribe to more of my videos, I've got a ton of random stuff on there already, but I'm trying to make more of these when I have time. So full disclosure, I'm not a professional YouTuber. I just do these for fun. So I can share information with other people. So the total trip was 6 days for myself. I cut my journey a little bit short. I originally was planning on going for the full 8 days, but my wife kind of pressured me into meeting up with her in Santa Fe, where she was hanging out with her parents, and I agreed because I still wanted to be married when I got home, and actually it was a smart move. She had a great idea. She said, why don't you come to Santa Fe and end the trip a little bit early and ship the car home? And when I did the math on that and the amount of time that I was spending, I was like, you know what? That's a good idea. So that's what we ended up doing. But the trip was still, in 6 days, I drove, 3,693 miles in 6 days. So I averaged 600 miles a day in my 911. That's a lot. That's a lot of miles. And my car is not brand new. It was a 2014 base model Carrera with the 7-speed manual and some light modifications. So it was an older car. You know, I already had over 70,000 miles on it. So, you know, it was not brand spanking new out of the showroom. But I was able to calculate some stuff around that too. So we'll hop into it. So 6 days, 3,693 miles. I started the journey from Dallas, Texas, drove to Trinidad, did a loop through Canyon City, Colorado, then drove to Durango, went from Durango to Monument Valley, drove to Four Corners, did a drive up to up Million Dollar Highway, all the way from Silverton to Ridgeway to Grand Junction. Then we did the Colorado Monument. Then we went all the way down to Gateway, back to Telluride, and then back home. We did a drive also to Dolores, up through some other random parts of Western Colorado to Telluride and back. Then we drove to Taos. I did a Taos drive one day, and then I also did the Santa Fe ski resort for like a mini day at the very end. Yeah, so all of that was over 3,693 miles. Okay, so let's get into the costs. That's why I did the video. Item one, fuel. I spent $690 on gas on this trip. The car averaged over 20 miles to the gallon, about 21 miles to the gallon, which is great considering there were plenty of times where I was driving at 100%. The car did great. I would say if you were going to budget fuel for a trip like this, if you're light on the pedal, you can get high 20s in a 3.4 Carrera like this, which is great. If you're deep on the pedal all the time, you're probably looking at high teens. But still, I had out of the three cars, I had the most fuel efficient car out of the three. It was more fuel efficient than the brand new Boxster Spyder 4.0, and was more fuel efficient than, of course, the Carrera, the GT3 991.2. I did not have the most range out of the three because the GT3 has the extended fuel tank, but I had consistently more range than the Spyder did by about 20 to 30%. because I had a slightly bigger gas tank and I got better gas mileage. So food for thought. I think I had the best balanced car out of the three in terms of fuel, but I still burned up $690 in gas on my trip. Food. I spent $428 on food. We did not eat anywhere fancy. My in-laws took us out to a nice dinner when I got to their house, which I didn't count because I didn't swipe the card, and thanks guys, that was great. But normally I would if they were visiting me. But yeah, I mean, we ate very, very, like, I would say modest meals. I went grocery shopping at Walmart one day. We got pizzas and just, very low-key stuff. So for 6 days, that was on a budget. It was $428 on food. Hotels. Okay, so this is a fun one. I did a hacker fair for my hotels, and I was able to get all 8 nights or 7 nights of the original trip for under $1,000. And I was very proud of that. It was like $980 something. The first hotel I showed up to was a travel lodge in Trinidad, and it was an absolute dump. Like, I was terrified for not just my life, but the car. I thought if I woke up and I was still alive, my car might not be there in the morning kind of thing. So I was like, and I don't get sketched out very easily, and this place was weird, right? It was very strange. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go back and stay. There's a Holiday Inn Express. If you're ever in Trinidad, Colorado, driving through, it's a very nice hotel. It's very safe. It's very clean. One of the cleanest hotels I've been in a long time, actually, and it's reasonably priced. So I would recommend staying there. So my bill went up a little bit. So I spent $1,148 on hotels for the week, which is, again, very reasonable. Repairs. My windshield was almost perfect when I left, and now it's trashed. So I need a new windshield. Thankfully, for a base Carrera, windshields are cheap. I was able to get quoted $580 from Safelite for a non-OEM replacement windshield. I think the brand is Fio or whatever it's called. I've had a few of them. They're fine. My friends and I consider windshields to be consumables at this point. We really don't care. So I'm like, whatever. They have windshield insurance packages, and you can get that either through your carrier or through the dealer when you buy the car. I chose to do neither. I'm just like, these windshields are so cheap for a base Carrera, I'm just gonna replace them when they break. So $580 for a windshield. Car washes. I spent $27 on car washes. Just the good old wand job, with a little bit of soap, coin-op type thing, $27 on car washes. I think James spent at least twice that much. He washed his car at least once a day, every day. I think that's psychotic on a road trip where it's raining every day and there's mud and shit. I mean, it's just like, why bother, right? But yeah, I washed my car a few times and it was $27. Okay, on to preparatory maintenance. Okay, this is an interesting category. So it's like, all right, I didn't have a brand new car, so I needed to spend a little bit of money to get my car where I was like, I'm 100% confident. I'm not just gonna make it, but it's gonna do great on the trip. I sprung for new tires shortly before I went on the trip, new Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's. I paid $1,822 to get them mounted and set up. Those tires, I recorded myself throughout this entire trip. And when I'm done, I'm gonna do a big mashup. But I cannot tell you how great those tires were. They performed, I would say, excellently in every single circumstance you could imagine. Heavy rain, they were great. Aggressive driving in the rain, they were great. They maybe only stepped out a couple times. Hot weather driving, of course, in the desert, awesome. I took them off road in dirt and mud and rocks, and they did great. They literally, ice. There was ice still up in the mountains in Colorado. They did great under all circumstances. So while that's kind of a pricey one to say like, oh, I'm gonna do this before a road trip, it's the highest line item cost actually on the road trip is my tires. It's worth its weight in gold. Those tires are just great. And I didn't burn up 100% of the tread either, so they're gonna be good for a while still. Great tires. Next up, I DIY'd an oil change and I changed my windshield wipers. The windshield wipers, I was not expecting there to be this much rain on this trip. It rained at least once a day, every day, the entire time we were there. And it wasn't consistent. It wasn't like we were always driving in the rain, but we were driving in the rain a lot. And I looked at my windshield wipers before we left and they were trashed. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna go and find an aftermarket pair of windshield wipers for 80 or 90 bucks. And lo and behold, they don't exist. Like, you can't. Every one I tried to put on there, the attachment didn't work. So I'm like, screw it. I'm just gonna go and, buy a $90 or $100 set of windshield wipers, which is what they cost from the dealer. But a new set of windshield wipers, they were fantastic. And when you're driving at the limit, in bad weather, on a road that you just want to enjoy, I was never held back between the tires and the windshield wipers. I was never held back by the weather. It was never a limitation for me. The other guys held back. I never had to hold back. I had such a fun time. And they were like, oh, this sucks. Some of the days, this is miserable. And I'm like, I'm having a blast. Like a sprinkle is not going to hold me back. So having the wipers done was, was great. And the way that I took care of that, it was $90. So all in, DIY oil change wipers, $156. When I got home, post-maintenance, so I looked over the car, it needed a really deep cleaning. One of the neighbor kids came over and helped me like take out the seats and wipe everything down and vacuum it really good, which was fine. That didn't cost anything. But I did do a DIY oil change. I got the stuff ready for it. I haven't done it yet, but I have the stuff ready for it. It's $80, but I calculated it in there because, it's when you get home, there's still stuff to do. Next one is gear and equipment. So I guess this one is this category is variable depending on what you're planning on doing, right? I already have a roof rack. I already have 2 roof boxes. I didn't use those, nor did I buy those for this trip, nor did I calculate that into these prices. But if you wanted to go on some 2-week-long safari, especially with a second person, I think if you have a second person with these cars, you absolutely need a roof box. There's just not enough space. I mean, I feel like I overpacked a little bit for this trip personally, but if you were with, let's say, a girlfriend, a wife, significant other who wants to go out a little bit, dress up, and go out to some nice dinners while you're there. We didn't do any of that, but if you did do that, you need changes of clothes, you need more outfits, you'll need more stuff. If it was colder, we would have needed more coats and more heavy stuff, even more layers. So I really didn't need to do that. But instead, I bought some other things that I didn't have. I bought a new set of microphones for some of the videos I did. I got a cheap phone mount. I bought a Stanley cooler, which actually fits great in the back with the seats down, flats. There's that little ridge that's on the rear seats that'll hold stuff in, at least from falling forward, not laterally, but falling forward. And the Stanley cooler actually was perfect in those rear seats. It never like topped over or tumbled over or anything like that. It just sat there. Plus it's got some bungee cords. It's about a third or a quarter of the price of a Yeti. And I thought it did a great job. So that was like $80. And then I bought 2 cheap duffel bags, which were great to have, because I ended up checking my stuff and flying home. That was $218 for all that stuff, which was great. Okay. So now some of the some of the more logistical costs, shipping. So I was lucky that when we were ending the drive, I was near Santa Fe, where Lindsay's parents live. And so I said, hey, I'll come and meet you guys at Santa Fe. And Lindsay was like, over my dead body, and my wife, over my dead body, am I gonna ride home another 650 miles to Dallas in those bucket seats that you have with those crappy cushions? They're not bad, actually, they're very comfortable. But she was like, hell no, I'm not doing it. They don't recline, so whatever, I understand. So I was like, okay, well, maybe we could ship the car. How do we do that? Well, we have to find a Porsche dealer. Well, the nearest Porsche dealer is in Albuquerque, only 50 miles away, 55 miles away. So I said, sure, let's do it. It cost $550 to ship the car from Albuquerque home, which was a bargain. I didn't think it was the easiest to do. The dealers, honestly, dealerships suck to deal with this kind of stuff. The shippers, the drivers, they always suck. I mean, that's just the nature of it. If you've shipped a car before, you know, I've done it hundreds of times, but compartmentalize that from a cost perspective. It saved me a day and a half of driving and another hotel I didn't have to book. So it was worth it. So the shipping was $550. I took a one-way flight home. That was $331 on Southwest Airlines. And then the depreciation. So it's something that nobody ever factors into a road trip, right? I'm gonna put a shitload of miles on my car. Out of the 3 cars that we took out there, I probably had the lowest amount of depreciation, but it's still not insignificant, right? So my depreciation based on Kelley Blue Book. So I took my retail trade-in value before and after the trip and what the difference was, and it was $1,325 in depreciation. It's the second largest line item before the tires and the hotel. It's number 2 on the list is depreciation. So that rounds out my costs. My total cost for the trip, $7,355. I didn't include my insurance. I didn't include my shaving cream. You know, I didn't go to that length. You could, if you wanted to really load it up. But that was my fully loaded cost that I calculated for the trip. $7,355 for 6 days of driving and 3,693 miles. That comes out to a cost of $1.99 per mile. $2 a mile. $2 a mile. That's what it costs to do that trip. The cost per day was $1,225.83. So you can take that and do whatever you want with it. Slice it and dice it. For me personally, it was worth it. It was absolutely worth it. Could I have done it cheaper? Sure. But I don't think by much. Could I have spent more? Absolutely. You know, I could have gone nuts. I could have gotten a Lamborghini to take out there and stayed in a 5-star hotel every night. We could have done something crazy like that. You know, you could easily balloon a trip like this past, you know, $20,000, $30,000 if you wanted to. But I would rather go and do it more often than do it once a year and just blow my wad on that one trip. So that's just a personal preference. But by no means were we like in third-rate places or I was like eating ramen every night. It was great. We had a great time, and the cars did great, and I don't regret it for a minute. But that's the true cost of a road trip like this. For me, it was $2 a mile. So something to think about as you're planning your next trip where you're going far, far away to get to that destination, which is what I had to do. If you're local, like if you live in Colorado or you live in a place that already has awesome roads like California, you don't have to deal with that kind of shit. You're already there. Like you're probably gonna cut a third of the cost out just by that alone, because of the distance to get there is that much shorter. But for us, yeah, it was for me, it was $2 a mile. We had to travel to get there. That was a big chunk of the mileage. But overall, happy with the trip. It was a safe trip. No one got hurt. The cars didn't get destroyed. They definitely took a beating, but they made it back in one piece. No breakdowns, no tickets, no jail time. So what more can you ask for? We had amazing views. We had amazing roads. We drove every possible road you could imagine out there worth driving. And I honestly can't believe it's over already, and I can't wait to go back. So hope that helps give you guys some perspective on costs. And like I said, like and subscribe so I can make some more videos. And thanks a lot.